So right now they're objecting to the authenticity. But I want you to pay attention to what Tyler Robinson is doing right here. Now, we haven't watched much of him in this video, but if you've seen him before, he does tend to be someone who's fairly still. I want you to watch his hand right here.
Thank you, Your Honor. We renew our authenticity objection, and we also object to for admission purposes. And then we also...
You see that amount of fidgeting. That's a lot of stress and anxiety for someone who tends not to have much of an expression. They were preparing to get into details, and they're actually going to watch some video that clearly Erica Kirk would not want to watch. But one thing I can say, when we see Erica Kirk's face like this, you see anger and you see distress.
Grace and peace, everybody. We're back up in the building. I'm doing a quick audio check to make sure. Yesterday there was a complaint that my audio was coming in a little bit too hot, and I want to make sure that it was good. Thankfully, we did not have a court today, so I got a little bit of time. Actually, we don't have court until 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, so I got a lot of time still. I might have to go run some errands. Anyway, I just want to check and make sure it sounds good. Thank you, Queen Table Rock. I appreciate you stopping by. I just want to get a quick check to see how the audio is working. And I do have a video because, of course, just like everybody would expect, there are tons of people commenting about the first 2 days of trial, of the preliminary trial. And I think there's a great one that I want to talk about. So listen to the audio. I think I sound pretty good. What's going on, Mackenzie? How are you? Let me know how I sound. Just doing a quick mic check, make sure that the audio sounds good. Had a complaint that my audio was a little too loud yesterday, or as they say, coming in too hot, as the professional people say. Shout out to y'all. Thank y'all so much for stopping on through. Sounds good. Thank you, loves. I appreciate that. That's what I want to hear. Thank you so much. I will be back today at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So just letting you know that ahead of time, I will be back tonight, 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, as well as this evening. I have Johnny Walker Dredd coming on. We're going to be talking about the Carmelo Anthony trial and, the aftermath of the Carmelo Anthony trial and some of the fan fiction, false narratives that have come up because of the lack of information coming from the court. People have kind of created their own narratives, so we're going to have a fun time talking about that. He's an excellent content creator, does great work, and so we're going to be doing that today. It's the Erica Kirk shift by the one and only JWhit. Hey, what's going on there? How are you, Mackenzie? I'm taking my shift, absolutely. Yeah, court isn't until 3 o'clock today, so I'm just Mrs. North Carolina. I just want to jump on, check my audio. I've done some things in the background to make sure that I got them fixed. Want to make sure they sound pretty good. They sound good to me. You all said that they sound good. And because you all came by and hung out with me, because there was no thumbnail, there was no title. Because of that, I got a quick video by Dr. G, who's looking at body language. I love body language. I mean, that's a topic I could unequivocally do a whole stream on. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe as this thing winds down, we'll look at some of the body language experts and how they talked about what happened in court, this witness's body language versus Tyler Robinson's body language, on those kind of things like that. So let's get at it. Let's get active. We got Professor or Dr. G in the building. Let's go and move me over there like that. All right, let's get this ready to go. If you don't mind, green hearts in the chat where you can hear.
Hey everybody, Dr. G here. I'm a clinical and forensic psychologist as well as a body language expert, and today we're going to be analyzing the behavior and body language of Tyler Robinson in his most recent hearing about the Charlie Kirk assassination. We're also going to be looking at some forensic evidence. Before we get started, a couple of quick things. One, I wanted to make sure you know this is not a psychological evaluation of any kind. These are just my opinions. In addition to that, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content.
Make sure you do that.
Just like this. All right, let's go. Today we're going to be analyzing Tyler Robinson, the man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk. We're going to be looking at a couple of recent hearings. During these hearings, they've been detailing evidence to present against Tyler Robinson. What we're going to be looking at is some new video footage. We're going to be looking at Erica Kirk's reaction to some of this, as well as Tyler Robinson's reaction during the hearing. All right, let's just jump right in. What we're going to be looking at first is some video evidence being presented during the hearing, and then we're going to talk about the significance of this evidence.
Yes.
Who is that?
I believe that's Tyler Robinson.
Now, the reason that this is so significant, aside from the fact that it's new footage, they showed him parking, they showed that he has a distinct car, and I'm going to be very curious if Tyler Robinson's defense is that that's not him, because that's what many people have been saying for months and months and months. That's not him. That's a fake. That's somebody else. I've seen AI enhanced photos that make it look like it's somebody else. So the question is the defense going to try to claim that this is not him at all?
And do you believe you recognize who that person is?
Yes.
So I wondered that same question. I had that same question. Are they going to say that wasn't him? You can't prove it was him, hence why they're trying to argue about DNA evidence, so on and so forth. But would they not have shown or made some kind of point of that even now versus even getting to trial? That's what I was wondering, but we'll see.
Who is that?
I believe that's Tyler Robinson.
All right. And where does he go from there?
He heads out of the parking garage on foot into the campus and actually goes to the quad area of the campus. At that time, he makes contact with some representatives from TPUSA.
By quad area?
Sorry, the amphitheater is what I've previously referred it to.
And just for the sake of time, I'm going to abridge some of this, but Tyler Robinson goes back to his car.
It's on foot from the neighbor.
Now, these were some of the angles that were AI enhanced, where they would show a face that did not look like Tyler Robinson. I imagine there are many people who still believe that this is not Tyler Robinson, and I'll be, as I said, very curious when this goes to trial, whether or not they try to claim that it isn't him.
To the northeast, you can see he's wearing the same clothing as in the previous video. And he's carrying a blue backpack.
So now here's later footage of Tyler Robinson. He's changed some of his clothes, but the shoes are the same, as you're going to see. And I also want you to pay attention to the body language right here. This is someone who does not want to be seen.
The shoes are the same, and the images that we have are from my viewing and seeing Mr. Robinson with a gait or a limp in this video.
With a gate or what?
A limp.
And the significance of the limp is that we saw this individual jump from a rooftop, or well, partially from a rooftop.
Right. But he also has that gun in
What do we
his
see?
pant leg.
So it's Mr. Robinson coming up the stairs of the parking structure.
You notice that when that person passed by, his head ducked down. Watch this right here.
Stairs of the parking structure. Again, he seems to be having issues walking.
See, continuing to try to obscure his face as other students pass by. So throughout the rest of the footage, they do show that they were able to track where his car went, where he went, so on and so forth. And so what's interesting is it's showing that during these hearings, they are providing some very specific and very compelling evidence that the state has trying to prove their case. Now, the goal of this video is not to suggest guilt nor innocence, but it is to show that the state is coming out very aggressively and they are showing exactly what they have.
Your Honor, we renew our authenticity objection, and we also object to the, for admission purposes. And then we also object to the publication for the same reasons, the fair trial issues that we raised with the unaltered version.
So right now they're objecting to the authenticity. But I want you to pay attention to what Tyler Robinson is doing right here. Now, we haven't watched much of him in this video, but if you've seen him before, he does tend to be someone who's fairly still. I want you to watch his hand right here.
Thank you, Your Honor. We renew our authenticity objection, and we also object to the, for admission purposes. And then we also...
You see that amount of fidgeting? That's a lot of stress and anxiety for someone who tends not to have much of an expression. He is...
I'm going to move back a little bit so you can watch it again.
He does tend to be someone who's fairly still. I want you to watch his hand right here.
Thank you, Your Honor. We renew our authenticity objection, and we also object to the, for admission purposes. And then we also...
You see that amount of fidgeting? That's a lot of stress and anxiety for someone who tends not to have much of an expression. He is someone that can sit very still and not move at all. Now, that doesn't suggest guilt or innocence. I do want you to keep that in mind, but it does suggest there's a lot of anxiety around admitting this evidence right here.
Object to the publication for the same reasons, the fair trial issues that we raised with the unaltered version that was just submitted.
Now I'm going to show you on day one when Erica Kirk chose to leave the hearing. I do think that there is something that's worth analyzing here. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about, and then I'll explain what it is.
I understand the court overruled and published, and I accept the ruling, but I thought under the court's previous order that the media was not going to film exhibits.
They were preparing to get into details, and they're actually going to watch some video that clearly Erica Kirk would not want to watch. But I do think there's some significance in terms of her expression right here, because there's so many conspiracies around this. It's hard not to address some of all of that, because so many people have come up with conspiracies about who was involved, who wasn't, all of these things. But one thing I can say, when we see Erica Kirk's face like this, you see anger and you see distress. And there's a reason for that. When you are near somebody that you at least believe is the person who killed someone close to you, you are going to feel anger, because that is a protective emotion. We feel anger around people that we think could do us harm or have done harm to people that we care about. So this seems to be a very genuine appearance of anger. She does look angry. So for all the people that think that there's something illegitimate about her emotions related to this, I would say this is a very brief moment that she's caught on camera where she was not expecting it, and we're seeing some real distress here, some real anger.
Media was not going to film exhibits.
Can we also just point out real quick, I'm just going to jump in real quick. Can we also point out the fact that it's clear that Erica Kirk is sitting right next to her mother and father-in-law? So all the narratives, all the stories, all the fan fictions about, Erica was at odds with her in-laws, or the in-laws are looking at Erica sideways. Can we just point out the fact that that's not true yet again? I'm going to back up just so we can see it. First person to be dad, then mom, and then Erica. It's clear they were sitting right next to each other. It's not a big deal, but it just goes again to show yet another example of something that these people have come up with, this fan fiction that they've crafted that has been found to be false.
People that think that there's something illegitimate about her emotions related to this, I would say this is a very brief moment that she's caught on camera where she was not expecting it, and we're seeing some real distress here, some real anger.
Media was not going
Nice
to
haircut,
film
Dad.
exhibits.
There's another important aspect to the way that her head is positioned right here. When we want to be seen, we do tend to have our chins up. We automatically raise our eyebrows. We can't help it because we're trying to draw attention to our face. So for people that think that she's being performative, that think that she's being inauthentic with her distress, I would challenge that she very much is showing the body language of someone that is just trying to get out of this situation. As ridiculous as it may sound to actually have to say this, I do think we're seeing very much authentic and real distress coming from Erica Kirk as she leaves this hearing.
And they're filming the ones that are on that screen.
Now we're going to watch a few clips of Tyler Robinson listening to evidence being presented during the hearing.
He also stated it was a fair and accurate representation of what's being depicted here, and for those
What's your
reasons,
big
the
screen?
defense objection is overruled. State's Exhibit 1 is admitted into evidence and may be...
So as you can see, he's holding his pen again right here, like I pointed out earlier. He's taking notes. It seems like he's actively participating in his own defense. That's exactly what we want to see from people, so there's nothing wrong with that at all. But you're going to see the way that he sits, the way that he moves. He does tend to come across as a bit awkward. We've talked about that during previous hearings before. But let's keep going. Let's see how he reacts to some of the evidence that's presented.
Officer Bagley, are you able to see the monitor that's here in the court
So they're talking about looking at a monitor and immediately start scratching his neck. We tend to associate that with anxiety. There's lots of nerves in the neck. So when you see men doing this, that's an extreme amount of anxiety typically. That's really something that somebody does unconsciously when they're feeling a ton of anxiety and they're trying to calm themselves down. Because when we get a lot of nerves, when we touch a lot of nerves, it tends to make us feel calmer.
I touched my beard.
Officer Bagley, are you able to see the
I
monitor
didn't know
that's here in the court that's pointed towards
stressed.
the gallery?
Yes.
You're seated. Are you comfortable in describing where the courtyard is on that photograph, on that exhibit?
Yes.
And for the record, where is that located?
So all the grass that looks like a triangle, the amphitheater look, that is.
You can see he's sitting extremely still right now. And this can key us in that somebody is feeling, once again, anxious. When they're starting to feel that fight or flight kick in a little bit, the first thing we do is typically freeze. And we're seeing him sit very, very still right now as he's looking at this.
It's going to be the courtyard amphitheater area. It's got the tent in it, the white tent that's at the bottom on the far left of the picture. That would be the courtyard area.
And you just saw a very deep swallow as they're talking about the courtyard. Once again, I do want to caution you, this does not mean guilt nor innocence. That doesn't mean that he's guilty of something just because he has that reaction. But he is feeling threatened by them going over this evidence.
The white tent that's at the bottom on the far left of the picture, that would be the courtyard area. That's surrounded by buildings. More of the
Shape, the rooftop. What building is that?
with that white rooftop, that would be the Sorensen building.
That's the Sorensen building. And what about the Losi building? You've described that. Where's that located on this photograph?
If you go to that triangle white roof, if you go directly to the right, so the right side of the picture, that is going to be the Losi building. It's got.
Now, if you watch closely, you saw an involuntary jerk backwards. And we do that with our chin when we're trying to protect ourselves, when we're feeling threatened. As I said, feeling threatened doesn't necessarily mean that he's guilty of this, but it does mean that something that they're covering feels threatening to him.
Directly to the right, so the right side of the picture, that is going to be the Losi building. It's got several levels. You can see the grass down there in the amphitheater. You got the Hall of Flags that's more towards the top center, and behind that you got I-15. But what I'm looking at is in the disturbance.
One thing that's very interesting about Tyler Robinson when you watch him during these hearings is there's certain evidence that he is just laser focused on. There's certain things that he seems to be more keen on and more interested in than others. Right now they're talking about the gravel rooftop where the assassin of this, but it does mean that something that they're covering feels threatening to him.
Directly to the right, so the right side of the picture, that is going to be the Losi building. It's got several levels. You can see the grass down there in the amphitheater. You got the Hall of Flags that's more towards the top center, and behind that you've got I-15. But what I'm looking at is in the disturbance.
One thing that's very interesting about Tyler Robinson when you watch him during these hearings is there's certain evidence that he is just laser focused on. There's certain things that he seems to be more keen on and more interested in than others. Right now they're talking about the gravel rooftop where the assassin apparently shot Charlie Kirk. And right here, he is really dialed in.
Some markings of elbows, knees, and feet to where somebody was in the line of sight of where Charlie's tent was.
Thank you. And if we could, again, take the, if we could publish State's Exhibit number 2. You recognize that, right, officer?
Yes, I do.
Where on the Losi?
Another thing that's interesting about where he puts his focus is he's far more interested in the people talking than the images that they put up. Watch how quickly he looks at this. Then as this officer continues to speak, you're going to once again see a big swallow. Continues to show more anxiety.
You recognize that, right, officer?
Yes, I do.
Where on the Losi rooftop?
See, another big swallow. Chin goes in again. As I said before, when we're feeling threatened, if something that's presented in court we're feeling is particularly compelling or we think is bad for our case, those are the things that he's probably going to react to. Doesn't mean that that evidence is necessarily going to prove its case against him, but it does mean when he sees this, he's reacting to it.
You recognize that, right, officer?
Yes, I do.
Where on the Losi rooftop did you observe this disturbance in the gravel?
If you go to the
Can you
center
point
of the
to that?
picture, if you go to the center of the picture in the darker gray part of it, on the left side, so the south side of the Losi building, it would be right in the line of sight of the.
See, now he's back to fidgeting with his pen. I'll be curious if this is something, if this goes to trial, ultimately, if that's something that he does a lot when he's feeling anxious about something. I would pay attention to that during when certain evidence is presented. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's great evidence, but it does mean that he's probably feeling anxious when the evidence is being presented.
Of videos. The videos as Sergeant Hull has testified to is a compilation of raw videos that he has.
Now, this I think is really interesting. I showed before how on day 2 he was reacting strongly, at least from my estimation, he was reacting strongly to the video compilation of him walking around campus. This is actually from the first day. They're talking about that same compilation. They haven't shown it yet, but you're seeing a reaction already. You're already seeing a strong reaction. Again, he is fidgeting with his pen. He's looking down. So it does seem to be that this compilation of videos is one that maybe he thinks is more compelling than some of the other evidence. He does seem to react more strongly to this.
Received from Utah Valley University. And he has not only seen this video, but he has seen all the raw footage. And by his estimation, or according to his testimony, these are all videos that are accurate and they depict what.
Tyler Robinson is someone who does appear to remain remarkably calm. You don't see him blinking much when it shows him watching footage. You see him looking up and down very slowly. He's not somebody that seems to get rattled very easily with all of this, other than you do see some reaction. You are seeing some fidgeting with the pens and so forth.
Refer to Mr. Olson's written statement. It's Plaintiff's Exhibit 12.3.
All right, let's go and start to wrap things up here. Hopefully this is helping you better understand some of the behavior and body language from Tyler Robinson. Obviously, there is going to be a tremendous amount of footage, a tremendous amount of evidence that's going to be presented as this goes to trial. Hopefully, this is helping you get a better grasp of some of what we've observed today. Tyler Robinson is someone who tends to remain very calm. He can be a little bit fidgety. Sometimes he appears that he has some mild defenses, and it seems that there is some discomfort. Once again, that does not indicate guilt nor innocence, but it does indicate discomfort. And I would think that the areas where he's more uncomfortable might be more compelling evidence when the state is trying to make a case. If you have any other thoughts about this, or if there's anything else you want me to analyze, please let me know in the comments below. Last thing before we get finished up is I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, thanks for watching.
Shout out to Dr. G. Shout out to Dr. G. Now, I am going to bring in another quick body language review. I did not put this in the description, so I'll have to put it in the description afterwards. But it was just a real quick one as a newscast that was talking about it as well. And then we'll get a lay of the land. I'll be back today at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That's when the trial actually starts again. And then later on this evening, I got Johnny Walker Dredd coming on. We're going to have a fun time talking about some of the fan fiction that's come up after the Carmelo Anthony trial. So thank y'all to everybody who's hopped in. This was just meant to, I was doing a mic check, make sure my audio was right, as well as just having a good time talking with y'all. And I thought Dr. G would be a good one to look at today. Let's go real quick. This is the National Desk, I guess a news outlet out there in Utah. Let's go bring it in. Here we go. What y'all got to say? Green hearts in the chat when you can hear.
And the country, even the world, watching as Charlie Kirk's accused assassin made his first in-person court appearance today. So we asked a body language expert to break down what he saw. Thanks for joining us. I'm Heidi Hatch.
And I'm Mark Cabell. Tyler Robinson showed up in formal clothes today. No visible restraints on him for an hours-long hearing. We did not hear from him personally, but cameras captured his facial expressions and his demeanor as he sat in court.
David Ochoa asked a body language expert about what he noticed during stand out to him.
Well, he says Robinson's apparent lack of concern. He says it's got him locked into this case, and he's very interested to see what we learn about Robinson as it continues on moving forward. At his first public court appearance, a well-dressed Tyler Robinson had a little smile or two while talking with his lawyers.
That's the only thing that I looked at and went, ugh, he shouldn't be doing that.
Scott Rouse is a renowned body language expert who trains law enforcement attorneys and is also an interrogator. He says Robinson laughing wasn't a good look for someone who's accused of murder. He tells attorneys it's okay for their clients to have a pleasant look on their face, but this might have been too far.
I don't know what could be found funny during that situation. It would be a little bit tough for me to think something up, but apparently they're trying to, alleviate some of the stress for him.
Rouse also noticed something when Robinson and his attorneys interacted. He says their body language suggests they don't know each other very well.
Their body language isn't the type where you want to get close to them or you're touching them. They're not leaning the way they should lean if they knew him really well. I don't see any connection with them yet.
All in all, Rouse didn't see much out of the ordinary for a proceeding like this. But he did see at least one thing missing, the grief muscle.
These two muscles pull together and this muscle pulls down. I don't see any of that. I don't see any grief muscle that lets us know he's really, really worried about anything and no concern.
Now, Rouse says you can't really make any distinctions about his personality at this point in time, but he did compare him and Brian Kohberger. He says Robinson moves a lot more than Kohberger, who Rouse considers a psychopath. Reporting live, David Ochoa, KUTV 2 News.
All right. So I just want to go over those, give you a little bit of lay of the land for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the JWhit Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, please do me a favor and hit me up with that 3-piece special. Like the video, subscribe, and of course, share it with somebody who would also enjoy this type of content. And make sure you leave a comment because I do pin the best comments to the top. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace.